All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another Sessionwire Live. My name is Brendan Lyons. Great to see you again. Hopefully you're joining us from one of our previous streams. Come to check out this one. Today we are talking about live streaming your remote sessions using Sessionwire and Streamlabs or OBS for that matter. So I've had quite a few people reach out and ask, how can I stream my session live to the internet, to YouTube, to Facebook, whichever you'd prefer. So today I'll kind of go through the setup that I use to do that. There are, of course, dozens of different ways to set up to live stream. This is how I choose to do it because it's easiest. And yeah, hopefully we kind of get through this together. And, if you have any questions along the way, please ask. Aaron, how's it going? Good to see you. If you're joining from somewhere, please say hi in the comments. Tell me where you're from, where you're watching from. I had somebody joining from a train in the middle of Europe at one point during one of our previous streams here. I'm just going to jump in this other computer and make sure that we're all up and running here. Aaron's watching from Facebook, so I guess the Facebook stream is working, which is great. I've had some technical difficulties in the past with getting things up and running smoothly. New Hampshire, excellent. Oh yes, Facebook is live. And I'm just going to check YouTube really quick, and then we're on our way. Yes, YouTube is live. Excellent. Great. Just make sure that I can see comments as they're coming in. Okay, so here we go. This is a little bit different than the other videos where, oh yeah, Atlanta, awesome. Dell mixed it. Good to see you again. This is a little bit different than the other live streams. We're not really, necessarily talking about the functionality of Sessionwire. So if you have questions about the Sessionwire app along the way, please put them in the comment section. More than happy to pause and, answer some of those questions. You have to excuse my cough. I've was sick last week and haven't quite gotten over this dry cough. So apologies for that as well. Jumping in here, we're going to talk about first, a little bit about what happens behind the scenes when you're using the Sessionwire plugins, because that's largely what I'm using to do live streams if I'm working in Pro Tools or Ableton or Logic to get the audio out of the DAW2 Streamlabs Desktop, which if you haven't seen Streamlabs Desktop before, this is what it looks like. It's essentially like OBS. If you're familiar with OBS, it's basically an audio/video switcher in software form that can stream out to different platforms. So OBS is a little bit more advanced in a way. You kind of have to know how to do RTMP streaming. Get your RTMP URL and your stream code, and you have to put it into OBS, and you have to use something like Restream, which is an online service to split that stream out to different services, whereas Streamlabs Desktop, what I'm using here, you can connect directly to Facebook, YouTube, and other services directly in Streamlabs. So we will, there we go. We'll kind of talk about a little bit about Streamlabs in a minute here. I'm just going to slide this off the desktop here. Pardon me. And we're going to grab a look at our audio MIDI setup window. Now this, if you're a Mac user, you'll likely know what this is. You can get to it by doing a spotlight search for audio MIDI setup. And it's the first option that pops up, the little keyboard. So this shows all of the audio drivers available to your Mac computer. I've got quite a few. I'm using an old Mac Pro cheese grater, so it's got a bunch of built-in line in, line out, optical kind of stuff. It's got DisplayPort, HDMI. We'll also see here that there are 4 drivers labeled SW. Now these are essentially the bridges between our plugins and the Sessionwire application. So I've kind of created a crude little diagram here, not that one. Let me pull up the real one. There we go. Created a crude little diagram here that kind of shows what's happening with these drivers. So hopefully you can see this. I'll get rid of my face here. Get this out of the way, and we'll bring audio MIDI setup to the foreground here. So if we put the Send plugin, the Sessionwire Send plugin, in our DAW on a master fader, that Send plugin is connected to the 2SW driver. So the 2SW driver is here in our audio MIDI setup window. If we need to have a look at settings related to that, you don't really need to go in here to look at it ever, really. But the Send plugin connects to the 2SW driver, which connects to the Sessionwire app if we were to select the HQ audio stream, the source for that to be the Send plugin. So it goes from the Send plugin to the 2SW driver to the Sessionwire app right here with the selection, the Sessionwire Send plugin. Okay? The Receive plugin goes the opposite way. It goes from the Sessionwire app right here. If I was to select the HQ audio destination to be the Sessionwire Receive plugin, it goes from the Receive plugin, it goes from the Sessionwire app right here, this selection, to the From SW driver, so we're receiving audio from Sessionwire, and then it goes to the Receive plugin in our DAW. Okay? So the signal flow for the Receive plugin is from the app to the From SW driver to the plugin in our DAW. And we have 2 other plugins, the TalkBack plugins, that do similar things just for the TalkBack stream, which you can see my meter moving right here. So again, TalkBack Send plugin to the 2SW TalkBack driver, which is right here, then to the Sessionwire app. And then for the TalkBack Receive plugin, it goes from the app to the from SW TalkBack driver. We're receiving that TalkBack audio from SessionWire, and then to the TalkBack receive plugin. So these are important. These little diagrams are important because they're a little visualization of the signal flow and where we can tap into that signal flow to grab audio and send it to a streaming service like Streamlabs. Okay, so let's say I've got a Pro Tools session, which I do. I'm going to bring it up in a second. And I want to pick off the audio that I'm sending to SessionWire and also send it to Streamlabs. I'm going to zoom out of this diagram here. Now I've got Streamlabs or OBS, doesn't matter. It's the same thing. I've got it right here. This is my Streamlabs app. I can pick off the audio right here at this 2SW driver and send it to Streamlabs Desktop or OBS, whichever one I'm using. Okay, so I'll bring my Streamlabs back into the picture here, and we can see in this scene that I've created here in Streamlabs, and you'll have to go and check out Streamlabs documentation to kind of learn about how to set this up. Basically, these are all scenes that I've set up. My camera, this is my face, the SessionWire app itself. You can go in and add the SessionWire app as a source in this scene, and each scene has a bunch of sources. So, for example, this scene right here, my Alpha 6100 is my camera up here. It's selected here. This is the source of the camera. I've got all of the audio here that I want to pull from my computer in this scene as well. So I've got all of the SessionWire drivers selected here as sources, and they all appear in the right hand side in this mixer. So we see that my Orion Studio Synergy Core, it should actually say Orion SSC now that I'm looking at it. Studio Synergy Core right here. This is my audio interface. I've got my microphone plugged into, and I can see that the Orion is showing signal right there. So that's great. I'm getting my voice out to Streamlabs, which is going out to my broadcast. I've also got all of the SessionWire drivers in this mixer here. So if I had the the send plugin in my Pro Tools session, this right here corresponds to that plugin. So again, it goes from the send plugin to the 2SW driver and then to the SessionWire application. So I've picked off this audio by selecting the 2SW driver as an audio source. If I click add source, I can go in here. I can pick an audio input capture, and I'm going to add a new source because why not? Audio input capture. We're going to say, this might screw things up, but 2SW duplicate, because I've already got one in there. And I'm going to add source, and it comes up with a little selection window, and I can pick the device to be the 2SW driver. And that will bring that audio into Streamlabs. But I'm going to get rid of that for now because we don't need a duplicate driver. Yes, I want to get rid of that. Can we see the screen again? Oh my goodness, yes. You're only looking at my face. Thanks, Aaron. Here we go. Here's the screen. I'll go through that again. This is great. This is why I love the comment section. This right here, this is Streamlabs Desktop again. This column right here are scenes. So this is my camera, which I showed you before. I'm going to have to go back and we'll go through everything again. The SessionWire app. So I can add the SessionWire application as a source for this scene, which I'll get to in a second. I've got my main monitor and my camera combined, so you can grab the camera feed or grab the desktop feed and slide things around. I'll go to my main monitor here so you can see this again. This is Streamlabs here. I'll make this a bit bigger. There we go. So for every single one of these scenes here, I've got the same audio sources selected for all of them so that I can get the SessionWire audio into each scene as it's going out to be broadcast. So these audio sources here for this scene, they're all the same in every scene, but they're all the SessionWire drivers and the SessionWire app audio, which I'll get to in a second. It's a little kind of cheat that I put together, and my audio interface. So my audio interface right here, we can see is right here. This is what I've got my microphone plugged into. This is how I'm talking to get the audio of my voice out to the stream. The 2SW driver appears right here. Again, this connects to the send plugin in our DAW. The 2SW TalkBack driver right here. This connects to the Sessionwire TalkBack send plugin. The from SW TalkBack driver right here. This connects to the Sessionwire app. So this is the TalkBack audio coming from the Sessionwire app. And the same with the from SW driver. It's the audio coming from the Sessionwire app, the HQ audio stream that's coming from the remote side. Now, you'll notice that I have both of these from SW and from SW TalkBack drivers muted. And that's because I'm grabbing all the audio directly from the Sessionwire app using a little cheat that I put together. So I'll get to demonstrating all of this in a second. I use Loopback to do some things for me, such as grabbing all of the audio from the Sessionwire application and routing it to its own little driver that I can capture that audio from. So we'll get to demonstrating this here. So let us open Pro Tools. I'm going to close my little diagram here. Here's Pro Tools. And this is the same principles for Logic, Ableton, any DAW. It's the exact same principles. You'll just put the Sessionwire plugins in the appropriate places based on our documentation and other videos. So here I've got a session in Pro Tools. I've got just some drums kind of set up here. You won't be able to hear this when I hit play. I can hear the drums playing. Amazing. So let's say that I want to broadcast the audio from the session to Streamlabs Desktop. Okay? All I need to do now that I've got these drivers in a scene in Streamlabs, I've got the 2SW driver right here. I can see the meter here. Nothing's happening when I'm hitting play. As soon as I put the Sessionwire send plugin on my master fader, we're going to see the meters moving here in the send plugin, and we're going to see the meters moving here in Streamlabs OBS because this send plugin is attached to the 2SW driver. Again, if we look at our audio MIDI setup window, 2SW driver, this is the bridge between the plugin and wherever we want to send that audio. So if I hit play now, we'll see the meters moving here. We'll see them moving here. Here we go. Excellent. And now you can hear that audio in the live stream. We can also see, if I pull up Sessionwire, the Sessionwire app here, we'll see the HQ audio meters moving in the app as well because I've got the Sessionwire send plugin selected as my HQ audio source. So basically, the 2SW driver has become a fork for our audio. It's going to the Sessionwire application because we selected this here, and it's going to Streamlabs Desktop because I've got the 2SW driver selected as an audio source. So again, we'll bring up the Sessionwire app, and we'll hit play in Pro Tools. Got the audio moving here, HQ audio meters moving here, and the 2SW meters moving there. Okay? That is streaming audio from Pro Tools or any DAW to the Sessionwire app, but also streaming it out to Streamlabs OBS. So if I was doing a mix review and I had somebody like I'm connected to my other computer here. So I'm in an active Sessionwire call. If I'm doing a mix review and I want to broadcast the mix out to YouTube, this is the workflow that you would use. You'd put the Sessionwire send plugin on your master fader, put the 2SW driver in Streamlabs, in OBS, whatever you're using to broadcast out. I think Ecamm Live is another popular broadcasting software platform. Put the 2SW driver in there as an audio source, and you'll be broadcasting any audio that touches the send plugin. Okay, so I can go in here, I can solo instruments, and you'll hear them soloed on the broadcast, and whoever's on the other side of the Sessionwire call will also hear them soloed. So let's check that out. We'll solo a couple of these tracks here. It's just the overheads, room, hi-hats. There's really nothing going on the hi-hats. One of my favorite microphones, the Wurst mic. That's my German accent. Apologies. You can also hear any kind of EQ or compression changes that I want to do. So I'll throw a little compressor on here. I'll also bring up the Send plugin so you can still see the meters. Throw a little compressor on this Verst mic or the Heart mic. Ooh, that's some good. Yeah, there we go. So, are the plugins strictly part of the subscription service, or can they be purchased separately? That is a great question, and could also be a great feature request. If you are interested in purchasing the plugins by themselves, please let me know in the comments, because that's something that we've thought about, is selling the plugins on their own. When you download Sessionwire, you get the Sessionwire app, the plugins, and all the drivers. They're all installed at the same time, regardless of what level of membership you are. When you upgrade to the artist features, that's when the HQ audio stream is unlocked and the plugins become available. So at the moment, they are part of the subscription service, technically. That could change in the future. We're working on a bunch of updates at the moment. You can talk. I'll use my face to talk for a second. At the moment, we're working on a bunch of updates for Sessionwire version 3.0, which we're so excited about. I can't even begin to explain how excited we are about 3.0. Lots of crazy features coming. Starting a call using a URL. You don't have to have Sessionwire installed to use Sessionwire in the future, which is crazy. You could hypothetically have up to 1,000 people on a call. Not sure why you would want to do that. That'd be insane, trying to manage people talking on a call with 1,000 people. I would absolutely buy those plugins. Excellent. That's great. We will definitely take that into consideration. We are very open to any kind of feedback that you have, feature requests, bug reports particularly, though, with 2.0 is going to be obsolete very shortly. So bug reports are a little bit on the redundant side at the moment. Though, please do send them in. Any kind of feedback that you have, please send it in. You can send it to support@sessionwire.com. You can send it to me, Brendan@sessionwire.com. More than happy to jump on a call and chat about your needs and what you need in terms of remote collaboration. More than happy to jump on a call and help you get set up. If you're trying to do some live streaming like this, it's a little bit outside of the scope of Sessionwire support, but I'm happy to jump on a call and try and consult as best I can. We're basically just open to communicating with our users as much as possible. So, good. Yeah, so the plugins, once you have Sessionwire downloaded and installed, mess around with them. Try to find different uses for them. Obviously, they're meant to bridge Sessionwire and a DAW, but there are other applications, as we can see here. So, okay, back to Pro Tools. So right now, I've got audio going from Pro Tools to Sessionwire and Streamlabs or OBS to broadcast. Excellent. What if I wanted to also broadcast the audio that's coming from the Sessionwire application, so from the person on the other side of the application, to Streamlabs? I want the other side of the call to be able to hear that. Couple things that we can do here. Let's say, where to start? There's two ways to do this, essentially. I'm going to mute that app audio because I'm going to demonstrate the hard way to do it first. So bear with me here. What you would normally do if you don't have an application like Loopback, what you would do is you would create a stereo aux. I'm going to call it SW receive. So this is an aux input, and this is, again, same thing for Logic, Studio One. In Ableton, you would create a return So create a stereo return or an aux, whatever. Put the Sessionwire receive plugin. Oops, why did that happen? I don't want another aux. Go away. Sessionwire receive plugin on this aux. Now, in the Sessionwire application, the HQ audio destination is going to be set to the Sessionwire receive plugin. So I've changed it to that now. Sessionwire receive plugin, which means that if Dan Smith, the guy on the other side of my call, if he plays audio through the HQ audio stream, it is going to go to the Sessionwire receive plugin via the from SW driver. Remember, Sessionwire application from SW driver to the receive plugin. That's the signal flow that we looked at earlier. So if Dan was to play audio, we would see the signal show up here in the Sessionwire receive plugin and on this aux channel. We're also going to notice a problem. Okay, so check this out. We'll get Dan to play this audio here. Apologies. I need to unmute this from SW driver here. So we've got the from SW driver here, which is connected to the Sessionwire app. Oh, not that we don't want to see your face. Yes, Aaron, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. It's again why I love the comment section of this this application. Let me do this again. I have created an aux here in Pro Tools, a stereo aux, and I put the Sessionwire receive plugin on it. Okay? And remember, goes from the Sessionwire application right here. Sessionwire receive plugin. This is the HQ audio destination. So the HQ audio that's coming from the remote side of the call, its destination is the receive plugin via the from SW driver. Okay, so if Dan plays the audio again, we're going to see the signal show up in his meter in the Sessionwire app. We're going to see it show up in the receive plugin. It's going to show up in this channel strip here. And it's also going to show up in Streamlabs OBS or Streamlabs Desktop. And we're going to notice this problem, and you'll hear it this time. So here we go. Okay. I hope you heard that. You should have heard it. It should sound doubled. It should sound phasey and doubled and bad. That is because in Pro Tools, we're receiving this audio on this channel strip, and it's heading out to this master fader and touching the Sessionwire send plugin, which is sending it back into Streamlabs. So Streamlabs is receiving it both from the from SW driver and the to SW driver. So we have to decide which one we're going to use by muting them in here, or pardon me, creating a physical like mix aux in Pro Tools. So I'm going to do that. We're going to go Sessionwire. We're going to call it mix. We'll call it mix. And this is Sessionwire receive. So this mix aux right here, this is where we're going to send all of the audio in the Pro Tools session. So all of this we're going to send to the mix aux, and this master fader kind of becomes useless at this point because there's no way to like really route where this audio is going from this mix aux, or this master fader. So I'm going to get rid of this. There we go. We got our new setup. This time, when we receive the audio from Dan, it's going to go straight out output 1 and 2, and it's not going to touch the Sessionwire send plugin anymore. So this first way is kind of adjusting how your Pro Tools workflow is happening, or your DAW workflow is happening, in order to avoid feedback loops. So Dan will play the audio. This time it'll sound nice and clean because it's coming straight from the from SW driver, and it's not being routed back to the to SW driver through the send plugin. Okay, here we go. Awesome. Pardon me. So, first way, pretty tricky. You got to kind of rearrange your workflow in Pro Tools. I'm not a huge fan of that. When when I work in my template, when I'm working in Pro Tools, doing remote drum sessions, I have a specific way that I have it set up that we'll get into in another live stream. It's a little more complex because of how I have my studio set up, but we're going to go back to the original setup. I'm going to create, again, we're going to create our master fader. Okay, caveat here. So this is the way that you have to work if you're planning on recording somebody's audio into your Pro Tools session. Okay? It's not very often that you're going to want to do that and broadcast it out to the world through YouTube and Facebook. The reason is because you're always dealing with the latency in the network. So the only kind of situations you want to record audio coming into your own session at this moment is for doing voiceover or voice acting or podcasting, something that isn't locked to a metronomic grid, so to speak. Recording that audio, speaking voices into Pro Tools from the remote side of the connection isn't really an issue because you won't notice the, 30 seconds, 50 seconds of latency. For example, I'm connected to my other machine on a local network, and we're about 1 millisecond of latency. That's not really noticeable. But when you're connected to somebody halfway across the country or even across the city, that delay, that latency is going to be significant in terms of musical performance. Anything above 15 milliseconds starts to become kind of annoying if you're, any kind of musician. So not very often that you're going to want to record the audio into your session. So I've kind of come up with a different way of working. We'll go back. I'll create this stereo master fader, and I'll move all of my mix plugins back to that. I'll get rid of this mix aux. And we're also going to get rid of the Sessionwire receive channel. Boom. Okay, so now we're just set up to broadcast from Pro Tools out to Streamlabs OBS. That's the way the audio is going. From my side, I want to hear what Dan is playing. So I'm going to change my HQ audio destination to my audio interface, or in my case, I use SonarWorks. So I'm going to change it to SonarWorks. It's going to come straight out of my machine. It's not going to go into Pro Tools. So if I play this audio right now, you're not going to hear it. Okay? So Dan's going to play his audio. You're not going to hear it. Oops. Okay. You didn't hear that audio. I heard it, though, because it's coming out of my audio interface. Now, I want to stream that out to you guys, whoever's on the other side of this stream. I use software called Loopback. Okay, and I've created a Loopback device that has the Sessionwire application as a source. So it's actually grabbing any audio that's coming from the Sessionwire application. So that includes the talkback audio coming from the remote side of the call and the HQ audio coming from the remote side of the call. And I've turned off mute when capturing. So I can still hear it on my machine coming out of my headphones when it's being captured by Loopback. That audio is just being routed out 2 channels. So this device has an input that is the Sessionwire application, and it has an output, and that's it. So I can select this live stream Sessionwire app capture device that I've created right here. So if I go to properties in here and we look at this device, Sessionwire app audio is the live stream Sessionwire app capture device I've created in Loopback. So this is the device that's capturing any audio coming from the Sessionwire application. It is not downmixed to mono, so it's going to be stereo, and I am not monitoring it through Streamlabs because I'm monitoring it straight out of Sessionwire. So these are the settings that I would use to capture the audio coming from the Sessionwire app using Loopback. So if I unmute this device, we're going to see this meter move now, and you're going to hear the audio coming from the Sessionwire app. We're going to see Dan's meter move here, and you're going to hear it because it's being streamed through Loopback, which I'll also bring up, to this right here. So here we go. HQ meter's moving. Bring this down a little bit. bring that down a little bit more. So bring up Sessionwire again. HQ audio meters are moving, which means Dan is broadcasting. It's going out to my audio interface so that I can hear it. Loopback is capturing it because I've got Sessionwire application as a source. It's going out the 2-channel output to this right here. Okay? This is how I prefer to capture all the audio coming from the other side of a Sessionwire call and send it out to a broadcast. Little complicated. You need Loopback. It's about $150 for Loopback. I think it's so worth it. Loopback is extremely powerful. I've got a bunch of different devices that I've created for live streaming. You can grab the audio from any program like Bias Effects. So if I'm, playing guitar and I want to broadcast that out to somewhere, I can use that. I used it to capture a digital performer for a live stream. I've used it to capture the audio coming from Google Chrome to broadcast it to places. What else? I used it to do some teaching. I capture a metronome's audio and Tidal audio to broadcast across Zoom. I think I was using this with. So could also do it with Sessionwire. Select this device as the HQ audio source, and all of these devices will end up funneled to the other side of Sessionwire. I think Loopback is extremely valuable. They also make a product called Audio Hijack that's really cool for recording remote audio. So there you have it. Essentially, to sum up, in Streamlabs OBS, it used to be called Streamlabs OBS. It's called Streamlabs Desktop. OBS is the same thing. You're going to create all of these different scenes that you want. So I have the Sessionwire starting scene. You'll lose my voice for a second, but basically it's a Sessionwire logo with stream starting soon and some music. I have another scene that's just my Alpha 6100 that is selected here as a source, and you can adjust the size of it, and it'll adjust, what's being broadcast to the other side of the call. I need to center, fit to screen. There we go. I guess you need to see that. We'll get to it in another one here. I've got the Sessionwire app selected as a source, so if the Sessionwire app is up and running, you can see just the Sessionwire app. I've got my main monitor as a source, or as a scene, apologies. And in here, you can see, my main monitor. I can adjust the size of it. It's probably a little trippy looking at this while I'm, broadcasting. I've got my full main monitor. It's an ultra wide monitor, so I've just kind of cut it down for the main monitor only. I've got my main monitor and my camera, so you can see me down in the bottom corner if I've got everything minimized. You don't want to see Sessionwire and Pro Tools. That's a scene that I've got set up. I've got a secondary monitor in the back right behind my drum kit. I've got the secondary monitor and my camera. And I've got an ending scene. Okay, so all of these scenes that aren't the beginning scene, let's do this. I've got all these scenes that aren't the beginning scene or the ending scene. They all have the same audio sources. All of the Sessionwire drivers, the Sessionwire application being captured by Loopback, and my audio interface with my microphone plugged into channel 1, so that when I'm talking, it's always going out to the stream straight from my audio interface. Then for video sources for every scene, I've got different video sources for each scene, and they're all kind of set up in different ways. Hopefully that kind of all makes sense. It's very much an audio signal flow issue, not issue, but issue, situation, I guess you could say. Figuring out the audio signal flow of your own studio and your own setup, and how you're going to get that audio in to Streamlabs or OBS. And again, I typically, whenever I'm broadcasting, and I'm sending audio out from a DAW, that audio is going through the Sessionwire drivers to Streamlabs. All the audio coming from the Sessionwire application is going through Loopback with Sessionwire as a device in Loopback, and that's ending up in Streamlabs. Yeah, that's it. Any questions? I see we've still got some viewers here. Please put them in the comment section. I'll hang out in the live stream for a little bit longer here, and answer any questions that you might have. I can't think of anything else to add to this. If you end up having questions after the live stream is over, please send them support@sessionwire.com. Put a comment on our Facebook page. Head to our Sessionwire users group on Facebook. Please join if you haven't. There's a lot of our users hanging out in there, talking about things, asking questions. I'm in there quite often, answering questions if I can. Go to www.sessionwire.com. Sign up for your free account. You can start doing things like this right away. Everything in terms of speaking to another user and seeing their video stream is free if you're on the creator plan. After you upgrade to the artist plan, the HQ audio stream unlocks, and the plugins and the auto mute and all of that kind of stuff becomes available. So please check it out. If you have questions along the way, reach out. Support@sessionwire.com, Brendan@sessionwire.com. You can use the chat bubble in the bottom corner of our websites. More than happy to help out whenever I can. For now, we will end the live stream here. Next week, let me check my calendar. We're doing another one. This time, next time, it will be about creating a headphone cue mix in Pro Tools. So if you're not familiar with the workflow of using a headphone cue mix, this comes from using giant mixing consoles in studios and the cue knob, the cue function of these consoles to set up headphone mixes. This will be a great live stream for you. It's a different way of using Sessionwire alongside Pro Tools. The functionality is the same DAW to DAW, although every other week I'm going to be doing the same webinar for different DAWs. So, for example, on June 29th, we'll be doing that in Logic Pro. We'll be doing the headphone mix in Logic Pro. So next week, again, headphone cue mix in Pro Tools. The week after that, I'm going to be going over how I track drums remotely in Pro Tools in my studio. It's going to be a really cool live stream. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'll show you my Pro Tools template and how I work with my studio here. A couple of weeks after that, we're going to be doing a webinar on home studio building on a budget. My home studio on a budget. I'll be talking about treatment, soundproofing, microphone selection, deals that I've found on certain things that make my life easier for not a lot of money. Yeah, very excited about the next few weeks and the live streams. Please join me. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Facebook. We'll see you next week, 10:30 a.m. PST. Thanks for joining the live stream. Cheers.